Thank you for joining us for breaking news here at the I24 News Desk. I'm Tal Heinrich. There is an unfolding terrorist attack currently in Spain, in the heart of Barcelona. We're talking about the La Rambla street. With me here in the studio to give us more updates, more details is Shai Ben-Ari, our senior defense correspondent, and Bianca Zanini, our international affairs correspondent. What do we know, Shai, so far is that 2 people are dead, confirmed by Spanish police, and that dozens of people have been injured. We're hearing that this is an unfolding event. What other details can you provide us with?
Right. This is a still developing situation. As far as we can tell, we don't have any confirmation that the assailants in this case, and we are talking about what the police have characterized as a terrorist attack already, we don't have any indication that the terrorists are in custody or that the attack itself has actually ended. There is one report, and it's not confirmed yet, that perhaps these 2 people, 2 armed men at least, were able to enter a restaurant, but that's not been confirmed by official authorities.
So there might be a possible hostage situation if we're talking about this shooting in the nearby areas of La Ramblas. But I can tell our audience that there are very graphic images of people lying on the streets. There are images that we can show, and police is asking us not to show at this point. Maybe later on we will have some live images from that area. Shai, this is a pattern that we've seen in many other cities across Europe. We're talking about a van ramming attack. Probably police is treating it as a terrorist incident.
Right. They are saying it's a terrorist incident, and it does follow a certain pattern that we've seen in other attacks, whether we saw one in Germany, a similar sort of tactic used, as well as in Nice. In France, it's one that can be fairly deadly, and as you mentioned, here, I think you see emergency vehicles, but we haven't seen actual footage of the vehicle streaming down the street. We do know that it was a white van. We have seen pictures of that white van at its final resting spot with a lot of damage on it, and apparently was able to run right down the Las Ramblas boardwalk that you can see here with the emergency vehicles driving down. And indeed, there's some very graphic footage that we can't show you at the moment of indeed several injured or perhaps even dead people strewn on the boardwalk itself.
So we're hearing that the van itself ran into a kiosk on the La Ramblas pedestrian street, which is a highly visited touristic destination at this time of the year, specifically, Bianca.
And also, we are likely to hear soon that it's going to be a priority to find out why they did this, and if these people were part of a larger network or if they were acting alone. And there's sort of a double-edged sword to this. It's rarely either or. It's usually somewhere on a spectrum. You know, you're inspired by something that you've seen happen, and then you end up doing it if this is indeed a terrorist attack. And, you know, if they are part of a larger network, then the potential for how lethal it can be is much bigger, but at the same time it's much easier to prevent than if they are indeed lone wolves. So it's going to be a priority to find out if they were alone in acting.
We don't know how many people are behind this attack, but Shai, if we're talking about different locations, different scenes as a hostage situation, there's this report of 2 people going in a restaurant with the guns and shooting were heard. According to certain unconfirmed report, I'm repeating at this point, probably there's more than one person involved.
Quite likely. Again, we're talking about the early days or early moments, let's say, and we don't know the full story. That has to be said. And in times like these, there's often a lot of misinformation out there.
Of course, on social media as well, and Twitter. But
right. So we have to be careful in terms of what is actually developing at the moment. What we do know is that certainly a vehicular attack took place, and apparently whoever was in the vehicle, we don't even have any confirmation on how many.
What we're seeing there in those images, probably maybe this is the kiosk, which we can't see the van, but maybe we can see.
Right.
Yeah, this is the kiosk that the van probably ran into. We can't see the van itself. I can't see it, but we can see the emergency services, people running. The police sealed the area off, and also public transportation is under closure at this moment. And we're here. Okay, this is confirmed. This is a hostage. There is a hostage situation at the restaurant. We don't know what restaurant it is exactly at this point, but there is an unfolding hostage situation in Barcelona, so it's more than one. It seems like it's more than one location, but also, if I might make an assumption, it could be that the people from the van ran outside, and it doesn't have to be. It's unnecessarily two different terrorist attack happening in different spots. It could be one unfolding event.
Right. I wouldn't stake too much significance to any report that's out there at the moment until we know a little more from official sources and once we understand exactly what is developing here. But certainly you have a situation which has not been resolved completely and where apparently there seem to be assailants still on their own. We have no indication that there's been any sort of official confrontation between security forces and the people who actually carried out this vehicular ramming. We have no confirmation yet of any sort of altercation.
Except that we know that 2 people are dead. Shai, what do we know about terror in general in Spain? Right.
There have been cases, of course, of mass terrorism in the past with a famous train bombing. I believe that was back in 2004.
In Madrid.
Linked to Al-Qaeda back quite a few years ago. Indeed, you're talking about a situation that is very common throughout Europe, unfortunately, in the recent years. And again, this is a tactic, vehicular attacks, that we've seen used often because it has become extremely effective and very hard to prevent. When you talk about an iconic location, especially, like Les Ramblas, at the heart of the city of Barcelona, not far from Plaza Catalunya, you're talking about a very vulnerable, soft target that is easily attacked when you have a large vehicle, even a van will do. And these people who crowd and congregate in such an open area, an unprotected area, are unfortunately very vulnerable to this kind of attack. Yes, there are certain measures that you can do to make it more difficult to carry out this kind of attack, but quite frankly, you can't barricade every European city.
Yeah, I also want to add something. One of the questions that keeps coming up every time something like this happens is, what's the role of the media? What's the role of the journalists? Do we end up giving terrorists what they want when we cover an attack like this? But at the same time, there's this overwhelming and understandable need, public demand for information. People are scared. People need to know as much as possible, and that is why we do a special edition. That is why we come here and try to tell people as much.
And we're being quite cautious.
It is our job to keep people informed.
Unlike a lot of information
and to ask the right questions
on social media. I would just like to add some information, or to wrap it up for our viewers joining us now. We're talking about many people who were injured in Barcelona when a white van mounted the sidewalk and then struck them in what police said was the most likely a terror attack near the popular tourist area of La Ramblas. This is what we're hearing. We're hearing that 2 people are dead, and apparently there's another unfolding situation, maybe connected to this incident, because 2 armed men, I should say, entered a restaurant after the crash. This is according to local media and also according to Reuters. So there might be a hostage situation in Spain right now. Unfolding.
There's one media report noting that there's a hostage situation in a Turkish restaurant near the Las Ramblas area. Again, it's not fully confirmed by authorities, but perhaps some kind of situation in a popular tourist restaurant, in a popular tourist area, it has to be said. There was a statement put out by police, or rather a request, a few minutes ago for everybody in the Plaza Catalunya area and the surrounding streets to remain where they are until they are told otherwise by police. And we have seen that several restaurants, you can see in the pictures that we're seeing now, the shops here have been barricaded with the gates brought down and shut to make sure that the people inside, we can assume there are many, are protected as much as is possible.
And nearby stations and metro stations also reports that they've been closed or sealed off.
Shai, if there is indeed a hostage situation, what can you tell us about the protocol, how to approach such an unfolding event? What should authorities do now?
Likely, if that is indeed the situation that we're talking about here, the Spanish police will have their own hostage negotiation unit being brought to the location as quickly as possible to start communicating with the hostage takers, if that is indeed the developing situation, to try and resolve this with as few casualties
Shai Ben-Ari, thank you so much for these details. And we're taking a short break now. We'll come back with more details, and hopefully more information will come in very soon. We'll give you more updates on this event.